Hi, and welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman with One-to-One Media, coming to you from the Gartner Customer 360 event here in San Diego. And I'm joined today by Greg Sherry, Vice President of Marketing at Verint. And today, Greg and I will be talking about best practices in social customer care and how the customer experience relates to this. Greg, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
So Greg, what are some of the trends that you're seeing with respect to customer care and how companies are trying to blend social into the conversation?
Well, Tom, I think what we're seeing is we have a lot of our traditional contact center customer care organizations who more and more are being asked to take over the social aspects of care. A lot of times these days, the social care is handled by marketing. More than 85% of the time, we hear from some analysts that the marketing group is handling care for social, Facebook, Twitter, and other social channels. So what's happening is those traditional marketing groups are not used to the 24/7, all the different metrics, all the different requirements that take to support 24/7 and really rapid response. So that's really changing things, and we have an advisory board at Verint of 30 leading customers, and more of them are being asked in a short time frame to take over this care. So it's been a little bit of a challenge with an opportunity along with it.
And it's a real learning curve too, isn't it? I mean, one of the things that I've heard from people is that when it comes to social care, even though customers may be online and using social channels 24/7, that you can't necessarily provide social support around the clock either.
Absolutely, and that's a very important decision for companies to make, is what service levels do they want to begin to provide for the social areas. Most of us who are doing social, Tom, you engage in social media a lot via Twitter and various other mediums, people expect an instant answer. And when you're trying to manage multiple queues, when you're trying to manage higher volumes, those rapid responses, most people haven't scaled for that, haven't prepared for that from the care side anyhow.
And depending on the size of the organization, the size of the customer service organization, and the resources that you have, I know some organizations, some contact center leaders that I've spoken to have said we've tried to set, in their case, a cap at if we hear about a customer issue through social, we try to resolve it within 2 hours. I guess what I'm getting at is trying to set some type of level for responding to customers via social.
Yeah, that's good. I've heard that too. People are attempting to do that. The one difficulty can be that overall customer experience. What I mentioned a few moments ago about marketing transitioning or sometimes punting social care to the contact center groups is that a lot of times they don't have the answers that customers are inquiring about. Maybe billing questions, maybe product questions, and maybe some traditional customer care things that marketing's not trained on or have access to the system. So you're right, I've heard that too. People are setting those goals, but they're finding the interaction types can vary wildly. So if they want to commit to that 2-hour service level, they're often finding it tough. So I think the summary, one summary point is people, organizations, C-levels want to provide that customer experience simultaneously, same level of quality across different channels, and they're finding some initial challenges in doing that.
Sure. One of the things that I also hear that I'd be interested to get your perspective on is that when it comes to looking at social care, what should companies be thinking about? Are there areas that they overlook when it comes to factoring in customer experience with this?
I think one of the most important things is look at the competencies of the person you want to handle or you think needs to handle those interactions. What I mean is the background of those individuals who are going to handle social care. What should they have as their experience? Should there be super agents from the contact center? Should they be a young group of people who know social media? Part of that answer, I think, is people should look at that very closely. I've seen several organizations that have people at all ages that are handling social media. Most of the ones I've seen to do very successfully do have people who have a good bit of customer care agent background. Some are super agents, as it were, that in the contact center, they were able to handle things very quickly, very rapidly, multi-mediums, juggle things very much. So I think from what I've seen of the customers in conferences I've been to with people doing that, that's been the recommendation. Look very closely at the competencies of that frontline person who's going to be handling those interactions.
Yeah, it's a good point. I know some people that I've spoken to on this topic before often talk about the value of bringing in agents who are very good at written communications, since they're having written communications and interactions with customers. But I would think also that companies can make use of the information that they know about customers in terms of the types of issues that are most commonly brought up through social interactions to make sure that you have agents with the right skill sets meant to address those.
Absolutely. Another thing people are finding is find those agents who are going to go that, N+1 step above, and I'm going to answer that interaction, but I'm going to provide that utmost service. So you're right, I've seen that too. People are hiring people that have writing skills because it is all text-based, short communications. But on that note, since it's shorter communications, someone with exquisite writing skills may be overkill because, as we know, 140 characters or some of the communications in email are pretty brief. So I think the important thing is, what is the company trying to deliver as far as the customer experience with those social agents? What do they think they need? There are some subtle differences by verticals, by the industry you're in. So people should just take a close look.
So Greg, as people are getting and their organizations are becoming more involved in social customer support, can you offer some recommended starting points for going from beyond initial social customer care to evolving it, taking next steps, if you were?
Yeah, and I think the starting point I would look at is in your traditional care environments, in your traditional contact centers, how are you measuring people, how are you managing people, and what level of customer experience are you providing there? Because what most organizations find is the social care channel looks back at the organization to look at best practices, looks back at the organization for some of the infrastructure and tools and technology that are being used. So important step is look at, maximize, optimize your existing operations on those other channels, take those best practices, maybe some of the best people as we've talked about, and bring those into social. The big thing, I think, on the summary to your question is you have 10 seconds up to 2 hours to wow that person on social channels. If you falter at the beginning, your first 6 days, your first 6 months of implementation, a little bit hard to recover. Negative sentiment, delayed reactions. So take it a step at a time. We've seen some companies that will just take a segment of customers or a segment of their business and do social care. Don't try to open up the whole envelope at first. So those are some of the things that I've heard from some customers and those in the industry.
Well, thanks, Greg. That's great advice. And thanks again for your time.
Well, thanks a lot, Tom. Enjoyed it.
Thanks.